name episodes. This is another episode of the Business Show.
Would you ever name your episodes?
No, not really.
That could be fun. You name the titles. Never mind.
What do you mean?
You say like.
Oh, the videos that are parts have titles, but like the whole videos is just there's no name. There's no name on it.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
You gotta say it with more gusto. Like you're come on, a rich and hearty welcome.
Welcome.
There we go.
Like this, yeah, the same way. I had something at the top of my brain to say. Fuck it. This is Lauren. You guys have seen Lauren before. She is the most viewed video that I have, which is very interesting.
It's Jackson.
It was you by a mile. But
I thought it's Jackson.
You have like 253 views. Yeah. So that's congratulations. So try to beat that again. But
or wait till they see another individual that you have in the queue lined up.
I want to talk to you about something that I thought was really interesting, which was they're not making those Dr. Seuss books anymore. Right? All 6 of those. And
specific ones.
6 specific ones. Books I haven't really ever heard of, to be honest with you. So I was really like, I don't care either way.
But that's all Fox News is reporting on, instead of like.
So yeah, that's what
the stimulus bill or other things that are
that's
happening.
kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, which is, it seems as though like certain news outlets have really taken that up, right? And
more right leaning.
And yeah, and I totally understand at some point that's something that even me I'd like to come back and speak on. But
if
I feel
it was a book that we all, I'm sorry, finish your question.
I feel, and this is kind of what I'm getting to, is like, I feel like right now there are more pertinent things. Like 100%, if you want to talk about Dr. Seuss at length, we can talk about him, but not right now. Because like right now, the country's going through things, and we would really like to iron those things out before we move forward and do anything else.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, what do you think? Like, do you think it's kind of a distraction, like they just want to distract from what's going on? Or do you think it's something they really, because I don't even think they really care about it.
No, I mean, because there's a number of things, there are a number of satire shows that have compared, like, when the same thing has happened to presidents and how they report on a Republican president versus a Democratic president, and, like, it's vastly different.
Yeah.
So I think it is very much being distracting, like trying to distract their audience from other things that are going on.
Yeah.
And just continuing to stimulate their audience through fear a lot. So I don't know why. I mean, more viewership, things like that. But I've kind of avoided the whole doctor. So I can't really speak too much on it. I do think I find it fascinating that, like, I have seen clips of, like, Tucker Carlson and stuff. It's like, bro, do you even read Dr. Seuss to your kids?
I don't get it. And what I'm more kind of astonished with is, it's not necessarily Dr. Seuss. It's the books that they're naming are just kind of inconsequential to me.
Offshoots.
Did you also see that Peter Pan and Dumbo, they stopped showing, like, on Disney Plus, they won't show it to kids anymore?
Interesting.
I don't like that. And I don't like it because...
This might be very ignorant and biased of me. What if Peter Pan... I know Dumbo
Native Americans. So where they portray Native Americans in Peter Pan.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Dumbo was blackface.
The Jim Crows.
Yeah. And the thing that I don't... If I'm going to be completely honest with you, you create a bigger problem when you have ignorance. Right? So I think for me personally... I fear ignorance more than I fear whatever these things are portraying. And I'll give you an example. You don't tell people, like, you don't have Dumbo, you don't have Peter Pan, you don't have those wild representations of African Americans and Native Americans, right? So a generation of children grows up not understanding that there was ever a problem, which would be fantastic if everyone understood that there was never a problem. But as soon as one person has knowledge that other people do not, they can use that knowledge to their advantage. So if there's one person, if by some miracle we grow up in a society, or we have a society where we've almost eliminated racism, right? But there's one person who knows that black people used to be less than white people, that person can use that to manipulate things, right? So rather than just abolishing it and not teaching it, you need to teach it, in my opinion, and then teach why it's wrong. Because if you don't teach it, then people won't know, but then the person who does know can take advantage.
I think these mega companies like
Yeah.
Disney or fucking Expensify has
What's
like
Expensify?
Expensify is how you can request reimbursement from your company. Like if you go
cool,
travel,
cool.
you can be like, oh, please reimburse me for my gas if it's all approved. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But on their like sign-in sheet, and like similar, I just parallel this with like removing the whole Gone with the Wind thing too. I think they're gonna say something like, "This is fucking racist." They're gonna say it in more like chill terms,
Yeah.
but yeah, just like removing Dumbo and Peter Pan, along with like Expensify has Black Lives Matter and like pictures of the protest. I'm like, I just need to input my receipt. Like,
Oh, it's like too much, huh?
not even too much, but it's just like, how is this teaching anybody anything? How is this like? Are you going to tell me that you are paying money to Black Lives Matter, like to the movement? Like, is that what these photos are? Like, did you pay for these photos?
I get you.
Like, so I think it's just what these big companies think they can do.
Yeah.
And like that it's moving the cause forward because who runs these companies, right?
Usually, yeah.
And like what do they think will work? And I mean, I'm subject to this too, like of things that I like try and do to support the cause, but it's kind of a lot of fail and figure it out. But like Disney can't really afford to fail and figure it out, so they need these broad gestures to be like, because the Muppets is the same, right? Like a bunch of stuff. Like
I guess
they're taking a bunch of, or they're putting like
I don't know.
PSA
Can
or
you
something?
give me 1 second?
Yeah.
I need to take something off the camera lens. Some technical difficulties, not really. I
Pause.
realize it's getting dark, and then I have this thing on here that makes it darker. So it's like that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Excellent.
Excuse me?
I said excellent, very low, into this microphone.
Oh, so much brighter. But no, and I mean, it looks really bright for some reason. It's weird. Kind of going back to what you're saying, and I was having this conversation with myself in the shower.
Go ahead.
A lot of it is like lip service.
Yes, because you're saying like, oh, taking Peter Pan or Dumbo away is like removing the history. And no, because like I still have VHSs of both of those movies. So like you're not going to take away that history because like it's kind of like when they burn books, like someone has the books. So they're
Even
never,
up here.
You're never going to erase. I mean, there is history that has been erased 100%.
Yes.
But of the past probably 100 years, especially in the time where like film is involved.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really, really that much more difficult to erase it.
Oh, absolutely.
So to your point, I don't think there's, I mean, unless this is dramatic, unless there's like a nuclear war and then like someone can control everything.
And then things change, right? The narrative changes drastically.
Then you can pretend, yes, none of this ever happened.
A perfect example of what you're saying, sorry to cut you off.
No.
A perfect example of what you're saying is if what you were saying was right, racism wouldn't be a thing. Right? Because we don't teach racism as much as we used to.
Right.
But there's still people who live back then.
We slick kind of do. Like in the books in the South, like I don't know. I don't have kids. I'm not learning currently in the school system, but just like the things that are in our textbooks are what I remember from school and what like when I've moved to the West or moved to up north, like we learned shit differently.
We learn things absolutely differently. But it's like I kind of said that to kind of mean if racism is illegal in the States and we're not allowed to blatantly teach it, right? It's
we're just hypothesis like
hypothetical.
Okay.
And it's hypothetical because it's based on what they actually tried to achieve, which is in America we tried to be less racist. As much as you may dislike, how racism is in the States, it would be remiss if you didn't say that there was not a legal precedent to try to curtail the amount of racism in the United States. Legally, there has been a precedent established to lessen how racism is. In
certain areas, in like employment, yes.
Yes.
Medically, kind of. Real estate, no. Ish.
Yes and no. And this is why whenever people say America's a systemically racist place, I do always it's not as clear cut as you think. The system, as much as people want to think that the system is racist, the system is not. But the system is the sum of those who make up the system. So there are people within the system absolutely racist. And I'll give you an example. Loans are not racist. There's no literature right now, maybe in some places, but right now there's no literature saying you cannot loan to African Americans.
No, but the like qualifiers. That's where
But the
like,
thing is, sorry, that's not racist. The qualifiers are allowed to be whatever they're allowed to be, but the situations behind it, right? If you have a qualifier that's like you must make $80,000 a year, unfortunately, the system before that didn't allow African Americans to make that kind of money. So right now, it's not racist, but because of racism, it's love. The system seems that way. You get what I mean?
So let me ask you. Back in the day, there were the literacy tests to vote. Is that not racist?
No.
Was that not racist at the time?
It's tricky, and I'm always not anyone's fan because I look at things objectively. If you go right, but think about it like this. If you go into some rural parts of Georgia right now, those country white folks can't read neither, right? The rules are not racist, but the way things shake out, and because of racism, the people who are disadvantaged the most tend to be African Americans. You get what I'm saying? So the literacy test, you have to be able to read to vote, right?
African Americans and immigrants.
And immigrants. Wait, now you might have to educate me. Was it that everybody has to be able to read, or was it that just African Americans and immigrants have to be able to read to vote?
I'm pretty sure it's everyone.
See, and that's why
I don't know.
The rule is not racist, right? The rule.
But the rule, okay. But what was the rule? Hold on. What was the rule designed? Who was the rule designed to eliminate? Because when the country was first founded, it was supposed to only be a white man with.
Can you please not hit that? I'm sorry. Thank you.
A white man who owned property.
Yeah.
Who owned land. So, as time wore on.
Yeah.
It was the whole goal was to limit the number of people who would vote because they wanted the smallest amount. They wanted to be able to control the people, the smallest amount. So if you let everybody vote,
everyone has a say in what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I'm not explaining what I'm saying correctly. I will not disagree with you that the way the rules are made, there are racist intentions behind them. But the rules themselves are not racist.
Which is how racists can hide behind it. Be like, no,
Absolutely.
What do you mean?
That's what I said.
What do you mean?
But then this is my argument then, and it's not going to be liked, but when you say systemic racism, I will say no. But the system itself, the rules in place, like what you said, you must be able to read. There are places in Mississippi is one of the lowest education places in the United States. I guarantee you there are white people there who cannot read. But the issue is that white people and white people usually have the same, what is good for one white person is going to be good for another white person. So it doesn't really matter if that other white person can't read. It's going to be generally better for them if the goal is to eliminate another group of people. Do you get what I mean? So if your goal in your rule is to make sure that African Americans are disenfranchised and you are a white person, if you are a black person who cannot read and you cannot vote, you're in trouble. If you're a white person who cannot read and cannot vote, you're probably not in trouble because the goal isn't for rich white people. The goal is against African Americans. So you being white by association, the goal is it's gonna lift all tides for white people.
Not really, because a lot of white people will vote against their own interest, unless against their own like interests, but then to ties to bigger things like faith or things that ground them, like hunting or things like that. Like it. So it's not that it disenfranchises them. And I don't know, I'm not a politician. I did study this kind of, but I studied it more on a global scale.
Yeah. Can I ask you something really quick?
Sure.
But then doesn't that kind of go, then we kind of debunk, because you said that white people even vote against their own interests.
Some, right?
Some, right?
I mean, might have voted against my own interest, right? Like not researching enough or just being like, I got other shit to do than vote. Like,
but those policies
or study what you need to vote.
Those things. So it's not, so that's kind of going back into how the rules aren't racist, because you might vote against your own interest because it hurts blacks, but it also hurts you. Right?
I think we're gonna just have to agree to disagree. Like redlining is a rule that is racist. The literacy tests back in the day were racist. Like they were meant for a thing. There are rules at banks Like there are actual case studies of like people, like the same couple making the same income, trying to get a
And you know
a
I
loan
don't
for a
disagree
house.
with you.
Yes, you're trying to say like the rules themselves, like just the words on the piece of paper, and yes, but again, that's what racism and bigotry has been able to hide behind for some apartheid, like all of those things, like. In that sense, then those laws were not racist; they were just laws.
Yes, their laws are purely, and this is, I think this is what I'm getting to. Laws are purely written rules. The issue is how they're interpreted.
All right.
Apartheid was different. Apartheid was on purpose. Apartheid was like, we live in America. I don't want to speak on apartheid. But what I'm saying.
But you know that to do apartheid, they came and studied how we treated African Americans.
But there was a lot more serious. But I'm saying this from a legal precedent. If I wanted to go,
neither you nor I are an attorney.
But
I could call one.
But the thing is, and I could call one too. But as an American, you have the ability to be a juror. And being a juror, you determine things of legal precedent. So to some degree, I have the authority to speak on legal matters to a little degree because at one point I might be asked to comment on them.
With 11 of your peers.
True, but I still have to have my own opinion. All I'm saying, and this is my argument, and don't get me wrong, as a black person, I know the system's fucked. But what I'm saying is,
I know, I feel like I'm like fighting you.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, we're on the same side. But what I'm trying to like get across is, to me at least, and this is in me and Corinne are talking about this, is I like things to be treated fair across the board, right? The people in the system are what's corrupt, but the rules are fine. And the thing is, the people in the system are the ones who interpret the rules. So whenever someone says systemic racism doesn't exist, I say no and yes. I say no if you're looking strictly as an interpretation on what's on the paper. But and I'll give you two example. You work you're head of the post office, whatever, right? You hate black people. Like you fucking despise black people.
Sure, I work in the post office and I hate black people.
Okay.
These are my two characteristics.
You are involved with hiring. Right? Now the system, the mandates and laws about hiring says you may not disqualify someone based on race. The system says you can't do that, right? But as an interpreter of those rules and what is written, you can find a way around it and say there can be a black candidate and you can say, well, we just don't think he'd be a good fit here.
You weren't qualified for X or Y reason.
Because we didn't. That's because you personally don't like him, right? The system that's on paper is not against anyone. It's just paper. But you, who has the power to do things, is racist. And because of that and how you're interpreting it, now the system has become polluted. So I always say yes and no, because no, it's not systemically racist because it's just words on paper. But their interpretation and those within the system who are carrying out responsibilities can be racist. And because of that, they pollute the system.
So I think what people are asking for is like for stricter laws so you can't. So I think what civilization works towards more and more is so that individuals cannot pollute that purity of the law. I think that's what everything is working more towards, right? In my humble opinion.
Jesus Christ. I almost just threw up everything in my stomach.
Cute.
And I think maybe this is another place where we disagree, which is I never put the onus of anything on a system. I think I
think our generation, I mean, you're a couple of years younger than me, but I think anyone born in the 90s and after, actually no, 80s, 90s and now, like 2000.
You sound like a now this is 2000 CD, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, oh my God, I loved those. I never bought them though. Do you have any?
I don't have, I used to.
Did you buy any?
I used to have LimeWire, so I could see like, it would tell me.
You were one of those kids.
Sure. Yo, my computer had AIDS, diabetes, like my computer was fucked.
No, I never downloaded any of that because I was like, I'm gonna download a virus. I can't.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
I was talking about, so like for me, and you know this about me, I don't blame systems, and I think that if you want a system to fix your problems, you're asking for failure.
You're asking to, I think what society at large is asking is like that the system, because the system is supposed to be unilateral, supposed to be, I don't know if that's the right word, or like unbiased, clear, robotic, but the system was built by humans and humans are prone to error.
Absolutely.
So as we move century by century, each generation has to ask, are these set of laws that we've built and created over the course of time, do they stand the test of humans? And that is the question that each generation has to ask itself, and either update or be like, yeah, that's chill, that works.
I don't.
It is the burden and gift to every generation.
I think in
I felt very wise saying this.
I know that sounded so good. I don't have faith in people, and so whenever you
wait, can we go back to that? You have you always tell me that you have a very small group of friends, but I feel like you are like not many, but you have faith in all of them. I feel like
this is weird, yeah, and this is the hard part.
So like as a whole, nah, but the people that you choose, yes. But the people that you choose, don't you think on the billions of people who exist on this planet, don't you think there are probably a lot of other people who are like the people that you love? So therefore, you like the folks that you like. And there are probably a lot of people who are like those folks. But you just haven't met them. And there are a lot of people that you don't like the people in traffic.
I would agree with you to a degree, but I think being like a scientist, my brain always goes a certain way. If there were more people, and let me clear something up. I don't like people, but I have this thing where I believe in them. So I don't really like people, but I believe in them, and it's hard because I always put it like this: I don't like you, but I respect your right to be who you want to be.
To be a person.
100%. I might not agree with you. I might not care for what you care for. But as far as you expressing yourself and wanting to do what you do, as long as it's not harming anyone else, by all means, do what you want to do. But I don't believe that there are a lot of people out there kind of like the people I like, only because, have you ever seen at the end of the year, CNN will do like a heroes, or they'll do like a Time Person of the Year?
I've heard the Time Person of the Year because it's always debated. But what strikes me more is I think the New York Times year in photos is what I always look at.
Yeah.
So like January is a photo.
Yeah.
February, I don't know, those things. So that's kind of more what I gravitate towards in those things, in the wrap up year things.
But for me, I'm trying to highlight for the fact of, you have candidates for Person of the Year, and it's always like 6 people. Right? And it's no disrespect to these people, but for me, it's a little laughable that they're winning Person of the Year. Not because what they're doing is isn't great, sorry. But it's like, I forget, there was one time, there was this guy volunteers on an orphanage, something like 10 hours a week. And I'm sitting here like, if you spending maybe a couple hours out of the week out of your time to help other people gets you Person of the Year, we're fucked. We're totally fucked. And that's why I don't think that there are that many good people out there. Because if someone is just spending an extra hour of their day helping someone else and you're like, man, that guy's a fucking saint, you're fucked.
Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Of all of the people that do all of the good in the world.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think is like reported and like on camera, or someone is following it and being like, oh, this motherfucker.
And you make a very good point. My mother always says rotten things smell. So you always know that something's gone bad, but good things you don't have a problem with. So it's just there. I will say there are a lot of problems in this world that I think if there were more good people, those problems wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
Evil.
I mean, here's my, like, do you think people, you were saying this to Green before, do you think people more veer towards evil or like corruption or all those things because it is in the society that we are brought up, money, greed, all of those things will provide you stability, all those like comfort.
100%.
So then why it's a question in society of like, why be good? And then you have to, and then if your circumstances are trash, yes, why be good? But also like, that's also props to all the humans who do good.
And that's the thing. And that's why we look at those people like saints.
Or the people who are like, you know, maybe are doing bad in some areas, but are doing good in other areas, like for the greater study, and like keep it very low key and hush hush about like, yeah, I donate to all these things. Not me personally, but like, I don't really have conversations about like, oh, what are the?
You're fine.
What, and I want to more. Like, I want to have conversations with people like, okay, what do you invest? What does your portfolio look like? And like, what do you also donate money to? And like, how does that work? What do you see? Like, do you do other things aside from contributing funds? So I don't know where I was going with this, but
I mean, it just kind of goes, I think that most people are rotten, right? And I think, and I'll give you an example of why.
So if most people are rotten, why isn't everything just garbage?
Because
like everything.
And like my reason for this is gonna sound so fucked up. It's because everybody's absolutely garbage, but people are also selfish. So there has to be some baseline semblance of civilization, because that helps you.
The
individual civilization at some point, because if there was none, people just massacring people left and right. So there needs to be some baseline.
Massacring, starving, like
we have those things, but it's not as bad because we have a little baseline. Without it, it'd be rampant, right?
It's a social contract. You need to, it's a social contract that we have with one another and society at large. Yeah.
My cousin is I always say this, and my cousin's a super Christian dude, but I always say everybody forgets about God when money gets involved, right? My cousin's super Christian, but he's also going to be an investment banker. And I told my cousin, my younger sister has diabetes. And the company that sells my sister's diabetes medication, it's expensive. Like that medication is expensive. And that company is supposed to make money. Like the company, it's a business and people invest in that business. So I asked my cousin, I'm like, hey man, if I was someone who was on the board of directors for that company, or if I was someone who was an investor, right? And someone came along and said, and let me give you another backstory. My sister has to take medicine that is ongoing. She has a chronic condition. We've had this conversation.
Are you going to say like someone can solve the diabetes problems and cure it?
My sister has a chronic condition which keeps that company in business. It keeps them making money. So if someone comes up and says, hey, I have a cure for diabetes, why the fuck would I ever, if I was an investor, if I was someone who was the head of that company, why the fuck would I ever want a cure for diabetes? My sister's medicine is $4,000 every time we go and get it. Why would I ever on this earth? My sister, if she lives to be 80 years old, I think I did the math, she would have spent more than $1 million at this company. Why would I ever on earth, not only as the person who works at the company, want to cure diabetes, but as an investor? And I asked him, if you were an investor, you have money in this company, wouldn't you want more sick little children? Because that's how you make money, right? And he's like, oh, nah, man, you can't be talking. So let me ask you this right now. You have 50% stake, and I love when you start doing this and be like, well, I would never have 50%. Shut the fuck up. You have a 50% stake in this company, right? Your money's wrapped up in there. Just be hypothetical with me for a second. They say we're going to come out with a cure for diabetes. I guarantee you're not going to go, thank Jesus, hallelujah. They've come up with the cure for diabetes. My cousin Renee is going to be cured. Absolutely not. You're going to go, what the fuck? Kill that person who created that disease because I'm going to lose out on money. And that's the family member.
But that's the point, because you're saying like, in this hypothetical situation, you own 50% of this. No one will.
Even if you don't own 50%, okay, let's not even talk about the investors. Let's talk about the company. The company does not want people to get cured.
What do you want me to say to this?
And I'm just going back to the point that people are rotten. People are rotten because of, like, there are more rotten people than there are good people. You can't argue that with me. Like, I guarantee you, solely because of that.
I probably will argue that.
Whatever business, if you are in the business of war. If you work for Raytheon, Boeing, any of those companies, why the fuck would you ever want peace? It doesn't behoove you. Does nothing for you.
But there are so many other people who don't work for that, Cyril.
But the thing is,
like the people who work for that, yes. And like, do they work for that because they see no other option or because they really like fucking war? I don't know.
Either.
But I think they must be in that field because they can't, like, where I'm at, I fell into it. Thank Jesus, because it's great. It's nice. But like, do I think that those same people, like anyone in my position who like fell into where they are now, into Boeing or anything like that, would be like, yes, let's fuck up the world, nuclear war left and right. I think that there are enough people who are just like, nah, this might not be great. But I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't think everyone's garbage, and I think it's a moot point to continue discussing, like...
I guess. All I'm saying is if I worked for Boeing, I made missiles. And they said, if we don't get orders for missiles, we're going to fire you. I'm going to go home and pray people want missiles.
Okay, then you can go do that.
But I don't know. I
don't think you would.
What do you mean?
I don't think you, Cyril, would do that.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
Yes.
But in just my counter to that is, if there were
the average everyday person, you think is just like, fuck everybody.
This is my thing, though. If more people wanted peace than war, defense companies wouldn't exist because people would just want peace. There's no business in peace. Right?
I don't know. I kind of think about it like Blockbuster. Like, how did Blockbuster end? Something better came along.
And hopefully that's what happens. But I don't know. The way I look at things, it's like, it's the same reason why. Have you ever... So LA used to have an amazing rail and bus system. Mm-hmm. But then GM, Ford, and I forget what the other one is.
Oh, so many parts of the country had great rail systems. Even the South, like everything was connected.
Car company said, nah, fuck all that. Because we can't sell cars if people can get places on rail.
But now, like, the car industry here in the States is kind of garbage, no?
But we've
already shot ourselves in the foot.
All over money.
But like, that's kind of the beauty of the 21st century. We can like watch those errors. And again, like what I was saying before with like the burden of the system, that's kind of, you get to watch the history, learn from it, and either choose to do it but more creatively or better it.
Yeah.
And I choose to believe like inch by inch, we choose to better it. But like for some, the more evil of the two options, or of all of the options they have, is what is best for them at that moment. And I can fault humans for a lot of things, but like, I don't know what every individual is going through. And I don't think most humans are garbage. I mean, on the interstate, yes, I do. But like, my best example is going on hiking trails.
Yeah.
I will advise every single person who asks me for something on that trail, like if I'm coming down.
Yeah.
And when I'm going up, I will ask, like, especially if it's a harder trail, like, is this fucking worth it? Because if not, I'm turning around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last time I went on one, they were like, you got to do some illegal shit. But
really?
yes.
That was funny.
Yes, it was great. And then it caught up to them, and they were Latino, and then we just started talking. It was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of think of that, of people. And like, cause there's no expectations, there's no money involved. Like, you want the better.
There's no stakes.
There's no stakes. There's no competition. There's just you and this other person, and everyone is trying to enjoy what we've been graced with, which is this trail, this nature.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I boil things down. When you involve things and money and all that other stuff, yeah, things get a little bit more complicated. But like, once you get down to a person's soul, we know right from wrong, and you can choose either way. Yeah. Dependent on how you're brought up, what your situation is in the current moment.
Yeah. I don't know. Something I wrestle with a lot. But I also, I guess the new Space Jam's coming out.
The new Space Jam? There's a Space Jam coming out?
Mm-hmm. With LeBron.
Is Michael Jordan in it? Oh, with LeBron.
Yeah, with LeBron.
Is Bugs Bunny in it?
Yes.
Is Lola Bunny in it?
Yeah, you didn't see what happened?
No.
They detitified Lola Bunny?
What?
Yeah.
So she's a child now?
I mean, they just made her less sexy.
Does she not have eyelashes?
I don't remember. I didn't remember the picture. But one thing, I just thought about this in talking about that is, do you think there's an argument to be made that when you how do I say this and not, I don't give a fuck. Do you think there's an argument to be made that when you desexualize a woman, you take away some of her power?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a fierce, because when you think of a sexy woman, at least
you're captivated.
Me, not only am I captivated, I'm intimidated. Sexy women don't usually give you like a goofy, they're usually intimidating, imposing, right? People, when they see sexy, I think they need to make a difference between like sexy and like she looks good. Like whenever I look at someone like Angelina Jolie, she's she has a domineering presence, right? So I wonder, do you neutralize some of the power that a woman had when you, and when I use sexualize, I can't find a better word, but when you take away the intimidating nature they had by being quote unquote like a vixen, you know what I mean? Someone who is, because I think the sexy that we see in sexy
Jessica
characters,
Rabbit, the Lola Bunny, Angelina Jolie, and basically all
more so than the looks, they could look the same but not have the same imposing. They'll just be a dumb chick with big tits. But like, it was the attitude, it was the confidence, it was part of the domineering associated with having physical features that people really liked, at least for me, that I think gave them power, stature. You know what I mean?
Did they take that did they take both the physical and the other attributes of femininity and power?
I don't know. I haven't heard her talk. I don't know if she's as suave as she used to be, but like,
because she was great.
Yeah, and I get what they're trying to do. I don't think you can't be nerfing chicks like that. Sometimes like a woman's power is in her ability to intimidate. And when you think of intimidation, usually you think of physical strength, but it's not always physical strength. Sometimes it's prowess,
charisma,
it's presence, right? So you can't be nuking bitches' presence like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would be an entirely new character.
Exactly.
If you drain her of, because her physical attributes just add to it, right? But like there are plenty of women who are like flat-chested, no ass, and or the same, but have like there are some androgynous bitches that is just like, hello.
And the thing is, you bring up a good point. There's some girls who are flat-chested, no ass, but because of the way they carry, you don't know they're flat-chested, no ass.
The voice, the way they walk, the way they move, the way they communicate with you, the way they make you. It's all about how they make you feel. So if the new Lola Bunny makes you feel the same way the old Lola Bunny does,
then it doesn't.
Or in like the same, in a 2021 version of that, then they didn't really do anything by taking away the physical features. They just were like, we shouldn't sexualize this bunny.
I will give you another thing, and I wonder if maybe I'm a little off kilter for this, but. So I think they cut off her midriff, right? They made it just a full jersey. And I just thought about this.
Oh. I mean, that's fine because there are a lot of movies and shows from like the 90s where it's like, why is her stomach showing? Like there's no reason, like it's in Jumanji too. She's like, why am I in this outfit?
Because
to fight crime.
I think it adds to the presence, right? To fight crime, I'll be watching some things where it's just like fucking old school nights and shit. She's like, bitch, you better put a shirt on. You're going to get shot in the stomach.
Lara Croft.
But I think that it also adds to that domineering intimidation, which is even me, Cyril Kanda, I'm not wearing tank tops. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Can you wear a tank top?
No, I don't have really big shoulders. I don't have good arms for that, right? So like even as a man, and I don't think people understand this, I'm not comfortable enough to wear certain things.
Yeah, everyone is.
I think her having the midriff only added to the mysticism because she's like, and she's not afraid to show her body. A lot of people have body insecurities, right? So I think that people who are not afraid of their body and show it only adds to that confident presence that they have.
Sure, of course. And like that is a piece of it. But there's also like the girls who are growing up who like don't feel confident. So it's like Lola Bunny is not showing her stomach, so I don't have to. Like as a kid who was very insecure when like the Britney Spears era and everyone was showing their stomachs and everyone was very like square.
Yeah.
It's like, I do not look like that.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to? Fuck. I can understand why like some people, maybe like animators who grew up in that time were like, let's just give her a whole ass jersey and see what happens.
I get you 100%. It's to, you're kind of protecting those, you're dampening it for those who don't have, because it's two
You're not
parts.
trying to dampen the character. You're trying to make sure everyone feels
represented. Okay.
Not even represented, but just like doesn't feel like you could never do this. So fuck you. Watch this movie and feel shitty about yourself.
I get that to a degree. I get that.
She's also the only female character in that movie, except the grandma, the grandma from the animation. So that's also probably an element of like why they changed her up. Maybe.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know. It's your show.
Does her being the only female character in that movie bother you?
Not until I think about it. When I was little and watched it, I never thought like, oh, she's the only woman in this, or the only female. But like, that was usually the case. You just thought, oh, there's only one woman, and oh, there's only one black person. Oh, there's only maybe one Latina person, maybe one Asian person. Like,
what was the movie about?
Space Jam?
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you?
No, I know what it's about, but like when you like,
because I can.
I agree with you, but when I sit down and I think about Space Jam, I'm like, I don't mind it only having one woman. It's about basketball. It's about a dude's basketball team.
So it's an element. For that piece, it's an element of like the compounding of like, okay, so this one, it would be fine. It would be fine if like that one movie only had one woman in it.
Yes.
Like everything, and it's the same for race. Like, it's the same.
Yeah, if we isolate
Space Jam. So does it bother
Jam,
me that Space Jam only has one girl in it? Nah.
But then okay, I understand. I was just asking you about Space Jam, because for me, I'm like, if you really sit and you think about it, it's like, I don't really mind that if it was. But
if they wanted to like, if there was a famous
Lisa Leslie, female basketball player,
but I don't even know the famous female basketball players, so that's on me, you know? Like,
yo, thank you for bringing this up. Can you 1 second, Corinne? Can you do me a favor? Can you? Does it still look bright, or are we super dark?
Yeah, I mean, that looks decent.
Good. Yeah. Decent's all I need. I had this talk with Jackson, and I didn't make a video of this one because I think it'd be unfair. So it's on the podcast, just the listening. But I want to talk to you about this as someone who's also, you played rugby, but like you don't watch sports regularly, correct?
As a swam.
You go to work, you do your job, you should get paid what you deserve. Because the nature of the business that you're in, that's how.
Oh God, Sarah, you can't ask me about sports stuff. I don't care. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not asking you about
sports. Give the soccer women all of the money, because that's a lot of people are watching like soccer in the Olympics. A lot of people support all those things. Give them all of the money. The basketball stuff, I have no fucking clue. So don't leave me.
I'm not going to ask you about it sports specific, but the way I'm going to ask you, you'll definitely be able to answer. Sports does not work like that. Sports works on what you bring in, right? Fans and viewership. Women's soccer team, 100%. Champions, World Cup champions, pay them their money. I agree with you 100%. My argument, and something that I've said, is I have been alive for 25 years, and I have never heard the following phrase. I've never heard a group of women say, let's go home and go watch female team sport here.
Okay, I have.
Okay, and that is great. But what I say that to say, I've heard women on multiple times say, let's go watch The Bachelor. Let's go.
Good to your point.
Okay. The shows that women watch, the people in those shows make a lot of money. Yes or no? Women don't watch women's sports. And so women's athletes don't make as much money. That makes sense, right? So my question is, should you be focusing on getting paid more money out of, like, there's some places like at Orlando City, I don't think it's Orlando City, and I don't want to call that out because I can get in a lot of trouble for that. There's some places, I think, where you have a men's team and a women's team, and they take some of the men's team revenue to pay for the women's team, right? Which I like that idea because the women need a foothold, right? But I do have an issue when you say something like, And I don't know if I've ever heard someone say we should get paid the same. I think it's a little egregious if you think you should get paid the same. But I think that in saying that we should get paid more, I also think you need to support it by getting patrons to watch your sport more, right? As a man, I like watching soccer, I like watching basketball, I like watching football because I've played those sports and I can very much appreciate what's going on, right? Like I can't perform at that level, but I can perform on some spectrum of the level to that degree, right? And I think going into like maybe why men don't watch a lot of women's sports is because it's different. Like our bodies are different.
Or is it not advertised the same? Or is it not promoted the same? Or are women just not like societally and all the time like, oh, you throw like a girl? Like, do men not watch because they will then be associated with femininity, and femininity is by and large negative in our. Go ahead.
That's a good point, and I'm not discounting that point. But my question is like what Tyler Perry did. Tyler Perry focused on African Americans. His business.
It's like I really thought that you were like he protected Meghan and Harry. Like,
oh nah, we can talk
what
about
did
that.
Tyler
shit.
Perry do?
No, Tyler Perry focused his business on African Americans. He didn't worry about marketing to white people.
Mm-hmm.
Medea, all that stuff was not for white people. That was for African Americans because he knew the audience that he wanted and knew that he could make money from that audience, right? To your point, men may have a problem because of what the associations are with watching women's sports. Good, fine, clear. But my question is, don't you think that there should be a larger push for women to captivate women?
Sure, I don't know.
Right?
I have no skin in this game, so this question is like over my head. And I know you were trying to say like, shouldn't they try to appeal to you? But I don't give a fuck. And I don't know if it was because society was like that or because...
that's what I want to kind of figure out, which is like...
I don't know, Cyril. And I can't really help you with that. I don't know.
It's what makes me sad about women's sports, right? Is there's a whole bunch of women who don't give a fuck about sports in general, particularly women's sports.
I will pay money to, if there is a female rugby game in Atlanta,
yeah, I
will go to that fucking game because it's great. It's so good. Life University most of the time.
Life is really good.
Yes. Yeah. But that's where you can go. There was a sevens rugby tournament in Atlanta 4 years ago. So yeah, I would pay money for that. I don't know if there's a women's soccer team here in Atlanta. I don't really. Oh, is there? Oopsies.
I just.
But I don't know if they're promoted in like at all enough because again, it's a patriarchal system of like, oh, men are better, but it's like there's no focus on the female characters. Like Mia Hamm is great. Like just watching her as a character, like as a person, as a character. I love her so much, but the woman with the pink hair and I'm forgetting her name.
Megan Rapinoe. Just like as a person is wonderful. Yeah, like I know a lot about women's soccer because I know soccer. Soccer is my game, right? My push is don't compare yourselves to men. And I'm not talking, I don't know why I said that like that because I feel like I'm not talking to you. The women's game is the woman's game. You get what I mean? Like, don't compare, like, what do I do?
Isn't there a men's gymnastics in the Olympics?
Exactly. Yeah, people don't watch that shit the way they watch women's gymnastics.
Yeah, so it'd be like that.
It's weird, different things. But like, for me, I was having this revelation because I was watching UFC. Yo, the thing about UFC, excuse me?
There's a women's UFC. I was just thinking.
Yeah, like, women's fight. The thing I love about UFC doesn't matter if it's a good fight. She did a lot for women's UFC. If it's a good fight, it's a good fight. That's the beautiful thing about UFC. Man, woman, child, doesn't matter. If it's a good fight, it's a good fight. And I loved it because they never compared the women's to the men. It's just the woman, and all those women are some bad motherfuckers. And it like, I want that to go into everything, which is women support women. Women appreciate the women's game and stop going like, and don't do like women
you do
should
get
not,
that takes a lot of detangling of a lot
100%.
Of things. So you're just like, why aren't you doing this like this? But it has to go back into detangling of a bunch of stuff.
Same thing about being African American and stuff that we have to work through. But I'm hoping, my thing is, I don't think enough people say it. I think it should be preached more so it's in people's minds. Girls should not want to aspire to play with the boys. I used to think that very much. Like a girl should always want to play with the dudes. The older I get, it's like, no. Girls should want to just be amazing amongst their peers.
Be them men or women.
Be that men or women, but they shouldn't be like, I want to play with the boys. They should be like, I want to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So if this dude's the best, I want to be better than him. If this girl's the best, I want to be better than her.
Yeah, it's like the Queen's Gambit.
Right? There are things that are going to, like, there are different physical things that make things tricky, but I think you can supplement the physical disparities
With a lot.
with, it's a little bit harder in sports, but
Depending. I mean, like, in a boxing match,
yeah.
there's a lot of or even basketball. I remember reading something or hearing something about Michael Jordan. A lot of it is a mental game.
Yeah.
So if like a woman can also fuck with you mentally,
True.
she could.
Yeah.
All that to be said, yes.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. And like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I just been seeing. I know that you would have a lot of good things to say on, like the skunk, Pepe Le Pew.
What about him?
Damn, you've been really working out here. Pepe Le Pew got nixed, straight up canceled because of
creepy.
like creepy rape culture, stuff like that.
Yeah. She kept saying no, and it was like 10 years, and he was like, still going after.
I don't get why they canceled Pepe Le Pew, only solely because like Pepe Le Pew's a cartoon. Like someone was like, bro, you know this shit's gonna hit hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone wrote for Pepe Le Pew. He didn't fucking come out of nowhere and go, I want to do the rapping on the cut. You know what I mean?
But like, how did that person come into like that writing job?
Oh, this is the busiest street in America.
It's not. Wow.
That guy's gonna get hit by a car and get fucked.
Yeah.
Sorry. Say again?
I don't think he had a headphone.
He had a helmet on.
Oh,
He had a
did.
helmet on.
Okay, good. How did he get that writing job? Like that writing job wasn't offered to a woman or likely not a person of color.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get that job? So it was based on all of the societal things that allowed them, and like what, it was late 80s, even 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So like you're like, oh, this was a writing thing. But like it was built on some shit.
I think they need to explain that more, because then it just makes it seem like you're just canceling this cartoon for no reason. I was like, well, can you tell me?
Have you watched it?
I watched Pepe Le Pew growing up.
So yeah, you canceled it for a fucking reason.
No, you get what I mean. When I say no reason, I mean it's like you need to have. At the end of the day, there's a company that okayed that. Why don't you just cancel the whole company?
Well, okay, then my question to you is like, how do you feel about like canceling the Cosby Show?
You're asking the wrong person.
But like it's kind of, I don't know if it's the exact same, but I have this question.
How far can you go? Yeah.
How far do you go? How far do you like cancel things? Because like that show still holds up.
It's a great show. It's a great show for Black people.
Amazing for Americans.
Yeah.
But yes, for Black people. But like for everybody, like that is a great show.
The bigger question is, do we look at the artist outside of his art?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If Remix to Ignition comes on, I'm gonna sing. You might hate me for that. I don't give a fuck. I love that song.
It's a very good song.
It's a good song, right?
It's a good song. Or I Believe I Can Fly.
Fuck me.
I will sing it.
And the thing is, I'm unabashed. I'll do it in public.
I think a lot of people would.
And people yell at me like, he was pissing on bitches, wasn't pissing on me. And I just keep on singing.
But yeah. So the Pepe Le Pew thing is like, both the art and the person who wrote it are fucked.
Kind of fucked.
Are terrible. Yeah. Oh, he's coming back. All right. He's not going to get run
I hope
over.
you guys can hear that, because it's just like, this is Atlanta. Like just people on dirt bikes.
He's on a dirt bike.
Just whizzing by.
In a city, in a very cityscape.
Yeah, it's super
The train
funny.
is right there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no dirt anywhere.
It's wild. Yeah, the Pepe Le Pew thing, if I'm being honest with you, like
I don't understand why the appeal of that. It's just like him. I don't understand it.
I had this.
I also didn't understand Tom and Jerry, but
I like Tom and Jerry. I had this talk with Corinne before you came, but it's a talk that I want to have with you because I know that you are more. You'll have a different perspective and maybe a different answer. I read something and it was talking about how much women experience harassment.
oh Lord, all
right? And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm going to come at this from an objective and more looking at it without having skin in the game.
But you do. You have a sister, and
I
you
do.
have female friends that you're.
I
very
do,
close
but
to.
I'm going to do my best to look at it from a top-down view without having that in there. Because I have some serious questions that I want to ask. If this nigga comes back,
Then I'm gonna take a restroom break.
all right. I have some serious questions that I want to ask.
He's coming back.
No, that's a Impala that's coming back up. It's fine. I just he's going across. But if what and this is part of my problem is it varies for everyone. There's no baseline. But to you, Lauren, what is harassment?
Infringing on me or my day when I did not invite it and I do not welcome it.
I think that's a beautiful, well said answer.
But
As a in there are things as a man that I don't think that you might get, and I don't want to say understand because it sounds rude, but like as a guy, there's some things that we have that I just don't think you'd get, right? Which is as a man, you are told that if you want to be in a relationship, you must pursue a woman. Correct.
But if they tell you no, you stop.
Okay, so that's the second part of the harassment that I wanted to understand. Harassment is after you said no, and if they continue, that is harassment to you.
Why are you do this a lot and I don't really like it. I want you to just ask me the question that you want to ask instead of setting me up like a lawyer.
Well, because I need to build it, right? Because if I don't ask it the right way,
but
it's
you understand that it is setting me up to like, because the way, like me being catcalled while I'm walking down the street, like, and you like, and some construction workers, like that is harassment. And like, I can say no after, but like I can't really say like while I'm passing you, like I can just flick you off.
So then I'll give you an example,
So
and
that's still harassment.
And I
Someone
need to
sending me a
understand.
dick pic, me saying no.
That's harassment.
But then me saying no afterwards. So it's like not until I say no after. So like you saying all of these things. This is why I don't appreciate like when you set it up like this, because it's like yes and no.
It's not as clean. I think that's my point, which is as a man, we're told to pursue women. If you want a woman, you have to do a lot of the legwork in actually pursuing, talking to them, all that stuff, right? So in our experience, and this is something you can talk to many men about, is if I'm a guy and I go up to a girl and she doesn't find me attractive, like you just said, you didn't say it directly.
I did not say that. Because usually catcalling from men is for the men. It's
very different. Okay.
It's not to like capture the woman.
I'll give you.
And it's for the men. And it's like, I can't see you. You're in your construction. I don't.
But the thing is, because harassment is different across the board. If I go up to a girl that I find attractive and I say, hi, how are you? My name is Cyril. Because I'm not attractive.
Why are you saying you're not attractive?
No, I'm saying to her, not attractive to her. I can be harassing her.
That is to each and their own individual things. I can't tell you point blank that's fucking harassment. I just explained to you what I find harassment, and I don't want to speak for any other woman.
Exactly.
I refuse. And
so this is kind of where, so I was reading a report and it was giving some harassment statistics, but the thing is, there is no baseline. Damn. There is no baseline for harassment.
So just harass whoever the fuck you want.
More so, it becomes very difficult to pinpoint harassment then, because the example that I gave, which is if I'm a guy and I go up to a girl and the girl doesn't find me attractive, she can say I'm harassing her. But if I'm an attractive guy, someone that she finds attractive, and I go up to her, I'm not harassing her.
It is the same vice versa.
It is, and I don't want to speak for all men, but I will say that a man, number one, is less likely to claim he's being harassed. Because it's not the same, right? Because
what if it was a big, intimidating girl, taller than you, bigger than you, all those things?
I think because men are not approached as much, depending on the man, and I would say this, if you're looking at it, because, and this goes back to something that we had a conversation about, is People like to pick and choose. Me, I wish everything was a flat plane, which was fair, but situations are different.
I think there's also a key element of what I just said of like harassment with attractive or unattractive. Like if someone finds you attractive or unattractive, you also have to consider I'm a tall woman. I can hold a rugby, whatever. For a woman who's smaller or maybe like doesn't feel comfortable like physically against a tall like a dude. Yes, they can say something as harassment because they feel actually unsafe. Because could they cause any damage to someone who's trying to cause them harm in a scenario? Maybe not. So that is also an element.
Is that in that
I have no part I have felt unsafe. Yeah, I don't know how far we want to go down this road.
My thing is, but my point about the road is there's a group that believes it's clear cut.
Men.
Right? Not necessarily. The fact.
What's your question?
My question is, how does someone in the climate that we have now, and granted for good reason, a lot of the sins of a lot of men are coming out to bear. Correct. But I would hesitate. I would say this: not all men are like the men that you see getting me tooing chicks. Okay, not all men are bad people. Not all women are bad people. But there are things within the society that are expected. And not even things that within the society that are expected. Because people are people and we don't know what they're thinking on the outside, things are tricky. And so my question is, as a dude who I don't have nefarious designs on anyone, if I go up to, and this happened to me, and if I ever see this chick, I'm gonna cuss her out, because this actually happened to me, and it's very, very bothersome to me. I do not see myself as a creepy person. I don't know, and I would hope we've been friends for a long time.
But
you don't see me as a creepy person.
That is no, of course not.
But what I'm saying is, it's not like I just met this person. I knew this person for a decent amount of time.
What is your question?
I showed interest in a person, and I told this person that I liked them, and they said that I was being creepy and I was bothering them. I was harassing them, essentially, right? I do not see myself as someone who harasses people, but she is the final word on who was the who harassed her, right? Now, if she goes and tells other people that I was a creepy person harassing, my name is tarnished. My reputation is tarnished off of someone's interpretation of who I am. That might not be who I actually am. So my thing is, and you might not have an answer. I know I don't have an answer. In the climate that we're in now, how does one evade that, or is it just a consequence of the game?
I have no answer for you. I'm sorry. Because I don't move in the world the way you do. I don't move as a man. I don't know how I would have that. So I think you're looking to me to how do I not come off as creepy to a woman?
But I'm not creepy.
But
But to her, I was creepy.
But you can also have a conversation with her, asking I want to respect you wholeheartedly in how you feel about how my actions have, in probably a lot shorter sentences, and how my actions towards you have made you feel. And I don't want to make anyone feel that way, because I know you don't enjoy feeling anyone feeling creepy towards you. But given that, I want to make sure that I don't be perceived as creepy to anyone else. So with her, you can ask, what was the creepiness? Because with you, I don't see anything creepy about you. But we also have 2+ years knowing one another, hanging out, sharing. So could she have just pulled that out of a hat because she wanted to dismiss you as quickly as possible for you to leave? Not trying to be cruel or anything, but just like the way people say like, oh, I have a boyfriend when
Yeah.
someone comes up to them. So and using that same like kind of hat trick,
Yes.
because it could just be that,
Yes.
or it could be like you genuinely made her feel some type of way. So that
Absolutely.
would be up to you or whoever is being accused of that to the most respectful way ask this person who's calling you that, I want to be better moving forward when I am interested in another woman. How could I do better? And it's asking emotional labor of them. It's asking labor of them to explain to you, to teach you. But I can't sit here and tell you because I didn't watch what transpired.
Yeah.
I don't know what you said, and I love you, and I know you're not creepy with me and with anyone that I've introduced you to. So I don't have that answer for you. But all in all, like, you would have to ask.
I'd have to ask. I'm just saying that, and I'm more so speaking for. And there's a silent minority. I don't know, of dudes who are out here like, yo, stop, like. There are already dudes fucking our name up for us.
Yeah.
Right? But then there are also people who, because of the, I don't know, there are also guys who, things like that happen. You get a label that doesn't really show who you are.
But do you get a label with like one tiny group of bitches? Like, who cares? Like, unless it's your entire friend group, who cares? Like,
it's not your
if
entire.
you are not actually, like, you didn't rape this woman?
No, but I think, and I think that, and I'm. Let me preface this with saying I'm trying to kind of show you things that maybe I deal with as a guy that is maybe harder for me to put into words. Because I know if I said this to another dude, he'd be like, I get that. It's a little bit harder to put into words, but what it is you act like yourself and you try to be the best self that you can be, and you tell someone I'm interested in you, right? And their response is, you know, you're a creep, you're a harassing person, right? As someone who doesn't see themselves like that and doesn't want to do that, your attitude and how you see situations going forward is going to be marred by that experience, right? And so you will always second guess yourself because of the words of one person. So it's not that friend group that I care about. What I care about is I don't want to come off as that kind of person to other women. And I'll explain to you how that kind of affects you going forward as a dude, which is, if you're me, you tend to not be as forceful in relationships, right? And I've heard, and the way that hurts you is that all women are different, just the way all men are different, right? And there'll be some women that are like, oh, he just wasn't very, like, forceful. He wasn't like,
Yes, he's back.
like, there'll be women who are like, he didn't seem interested. He didn't seem very invested. And it's because for me, when I was invested, I was called creepy, right? But then now I'm losing on both fronts, because I'm losing because one person called me creepy for doing this thing, so I stopped doing it. Then other people saying you're not invested because you're not doing this thing. And what I'm trying to say is that,
Has anyone ever told you you're not invested for not doing this thing?
I've been told that it's like, oh, it seemed like you weren't interested. And what I'm trying to say is like,
Were you interested?
I was interested.
In the same way you were interested in someone who you were more forceful with?
I had to change my approach because I didn't want to get that same feedback, because I didn't
think
want to
this is
make
a better
anyone uncomfortable.
Conversation with another dude.
But the thing is, nothing will get done.
It's all about timing. It's all about, I don't know what you want me to say.
But this is what I'm saying from like a guy's perspective. It's not, we are trying to understand an entire human being in such a way that we like, because I think we've agreed that for dating, a lot of the approach is on dudes.
No. I don't think so. I don't believe that. I chase a lot of the dudes. I am not with anyone, so Lord knows how much that's useful. But I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. Like, I don't have an answer for you. It sounds like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You've also told me fuck bitches for 2021.
Yeah,
so I don't
that's
know
the
why
thing.
you're asking me.
But what I'm saying is like, I just want people to recognize like there's some rocks and hard places for dudes too.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not
But
as clear
what I was
cut.
saying before, just like be communicative. Like if you're fear being creepy, you can ask that person. Like, as long as you didn't harm them in any way, you can also be like, I don't want to make anyone else feel the way I made you feel.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? There are ways to communicate that, and I feel like y'all just don't communicate. But I'm also putting all that on one gender, and that might not be the case. And that might just be my data points, and my data points could be skewed.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that in my experience, talking to other men and things like that, men at the beginning of a relationship have to do a lot of, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And it's just like, you're trying to figure out another person, and like, you don't even know yourself a lot of the time. So it's just
Women
really
do
hard.
the same thing. Like,
I can't speak to that. And and this is why I'm having this conversation with you, and that's why I want to get to the bottom of it is, I don't know that. We're not gonna get to the bottom of it. I know, but like, I don't know that, which is, I have my perspective, and you saying like, oh, go talk to another dude about it. It doesn't do anything. I need to get to the root of the problem, which is, between you and me, we have very different views on what's going on. And either one of us is right, or none of us is right, or both of us is right.
But you can't go into the discussion about like, someone's right. It's not, because you actually taught me that shit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go into a conversation with like, I'm going to prove to be right. I don't fucking know.
I know.
And neither of us, like, I'll only speak for myself. I don't know. Like, I don't have a repertoire of like, here's my portfolio, here's what has worked, here's what I know. I only have my experiences, and my experiences fucking communicate. If you're into a person, communicate that shit. If you're not into them, communicate that shit.
That's a good point.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
And on that, we should end.
Yeah. I'm tired of people ending my show. All right, whatever. All right, we're going to end. Don't forget to like my shit.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Zero stuff.
See you guys later.